The scripture passages for this first Sunday of Lent are very almost mysterious in a way. The first two readings seem to discuss and talk about Noah, his ark, the rainbow, the salvation that Noah experienced by the will of God, and the salvation that God brought to him, and then God gives him a sign of his salvation in a rainbow across the sky. Our gospel is the traditional gospel of the first Sunday of Lent, which is always a gospel about the temptation of the Lord in the desert. Now, this gospel is very meager compared to Matthew and Luke. Mark's gospel of the temptation is simply Jesus is baptized, the Spirit leads him into the desert. It makes a peculiar comment. It says that Jesus was taken into the desert by the Spirit, and there he was with the wild animals and the angels. And then it doesn't say anything more. It doesn't say what happened in that temptation. It just says he went to the desert, was tested, and he came out of it. And he went on with his ministry. As I said, it's a very unusual kind of gospel about the temptation, because there's no, what is he tempted to do or not to do? We don't know. It doesn't say that. But there is a hint of it in light of all of these readings that we have from the other two scripture sources, the book of Genesis and the letter to St. Peter. Because the story of Noah is a story of salvation. It's a story also of God being upset with the human race. And there's almost a strange thought, it seems, that God has. Well, maybe if I could just eliminate everybody, destroy everything, and start all over again, maybe it would work out better. But then it says, very interesting, he says, but then God noticed the righteousness of Noah. Sometimes the Bible, very interestingly, seems to speak of God as thinking something, but actually it's what we think. And so the Bible writer is trying to get us to think real deeply about what we think. And as God seems to process it, it reminds us about how maybe we may have to take certain things. I mean, it's not uncommon, is it, for human beings to say, if only we were rid of those people, or if they got rid of that nation or that group, we'd be all happy. We immediately be cleansed of some of these strange groups around us, and we'd all be happy. And it's almost as though that's the idea being toyed with in Genesis, and yet God says, no, I see something in human beings. I see something in their righteousness, and so we should see that too. But the rainbow is a sign of God's peace with the human race. I mean, in a world that's not just our world, but a world of those days that gods inhabited the heavens. And actually, there's stories from Greek and Roman mythology about how the gods sent down things, shot arrows of pain and grief and trickery into the human race. That the bow, the rainbow, which you think about it, is something that is not aimed at the earth, but it's a bow that's aimed up into the heavens. It's almost as though you turn the bow around. If you had a bow, an arrow, you would shoot it this way. The bow would be this way. But the bow is up to indicate that there's peace between God and humanity, a peace that the ark revealed with Noah. And we also see that in the letter to St. Peter to the early Christians. He talks about that ark and that covenant that Noah had and parallels it to baptism, our journey through water and out of the water, our journey to salvation, that God saves us, part of the human race. And in a sense, the baptismal covenant is even more deep than the covenant with Noah. In a very interesting way, the covenant with Noah is as we always say, is a foretold event to indicate something more to come. And in the baptismal covenant, in a sense, Jesus is the rainbow of God. Jesus' life, his death, and his resurrection becomes the rainbow, the arc of peace over the human race that we look to and we hope in and we believe in, and is our identity. And the greatest temptation, what is the greatest temptation to the human race? It's not the 7 deadly sins. Those are important, and those are very serious temptations. But the greatest temptation is that human beings deal with inside of them is God really love us? Is he really for or against us? And Jesus is the rainbow of God that says, I love you. You are my people. I'm here for your salvation.